Hey everybody, it's been a while. I'm so happy to be back. And today I want to bring my good friend Wendy Paquette on, and we've been having a long discussion before we started recording, and we're like, we have to start recording because it's just like there was too many things, too much going on. But anyway, what Wendy's amazing at, and I will fail completely at a description of it, but Wendy's really amazing at being able to see the programming in your life, the programming that you set or that has been set in your life, and it's always either us or our higher selves that do this, and then she can go in there and she can help change some of those settings, turn them on or turn them off. But that pales by example of what you can actually do, Wendy. But let's just get right into it and see, and try to maybe continue our conversation a little bit, but also kind of introduce what it is that you do and introduce yourself or whatever you want to do.
Sure. Thanks, Chris, for for deciding to have this conversation with me live. Um, yeah, my name is Wendy Paquette, and I call myself a timeline shifter because that's how I see our reality when we're on our timelines and we have all this programs running in our reality, are also known as belief systems that are a direct reflection in our outside world of the belief systems we have on the inside. And so what happens is, for me in my world, the gift that I was given was the ability to see and read frequency and see these programs in binary sequence in real time, running in your reality, and particularly showing up when there's something that you want that you think you can't have. So it's lining up the timelines, right, in order to get what you want in this reality, because really we're here to experience life from an unconditional love space. So when we're in that space, everything we want, we can have everything. The only thing that stops us is the belief system that's running that tells us we can't. And there could be a million of them. Hopefully not, but there could be. And, part of what I love educating on is understanding how those programs impact your reality and how they can be changed and the multiple ways we can change them. But what you and I were talking about was I received a beautiful visual gift, experiential gift of the actualization process, which is, I would say, then I want to say like the bookend to manifestation, the next step to manifestation, because manifestation, from my understanding, for everyone who follows the law of attraction and they're doing manifestation or they're saying affirmations, manifestation is the fully completed visual in your head or in your mind's eye of what you want. That is what manifestation is. It's the manifest. So think of a piece of paper that has all written on it, all of the things that you want on it. It's the manifest. So if you imagine your imagination or your mind's eye or your mind having that manifest or manifestation of what you want on it, it's not complete until you actualize it into your world. And actualization is actually having it, actually living it, actually experiencing it. So up until now, most everyone has experienced manifestation where they can see it, but they're wondering, why am I not having it? Right?
Yeah.
So they keep saying their affirmations over and over and over again, hoping to manifest what they want. And they're like, I can see it, I want it, but there's a belief system that's telling them they can't have it because up until that moment, they haven't received it yet. And so what I wanted to share and what I was sharing with you is that the gift of actualization has a process to it. The process is taking that manifest or the manifestation of what you want and literally bringing it into your reality step by step, because it gets to be actualized. There's only one way to experience it. So I was delivering to you, Chris, here the steps of which I was given in order to see these manifestations come to life in your reality. And it was such a fascinating moment for me to receive and have that experience. It was very surreal because I was in it. It was like being in a pool of conscious soup and seeing all the ingredients floating around and going, gosh, what do I really want? So yeah, maybe a help if you ask me some questions around what it looks like, because I would be happy to deliver that process. I think it's time that we get to create the world we want to live in from an unconditional love space.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I guess as a quick recap, what you're saying is that manifestation is the precursor to actualization. So we've really only, for the most part, most people only understand up through the manifestation point of knowing what it is they want. But like a blueprint, you can't just have the blueprint to the house. You have to build the house. So
Yeah,
that's what you're saying.
absolutely. And I think, I mean, let's be fair. I don't think any of us really knew that that was the problem in the way of having
No.
it. Right? It's like when law of attraction first came out and manifestation, I guess, formulas or ways to do it first came out, that was a thing. Like, you're going to manifest something, like make it appear, right? But the piece that was missing was that, yes, it's going to appear in your mind, which is why we're not actually having it. And some people are getting lucky when they're a natural, maybe integrator or natural doer in that space, and they can create that to occur. But for a lot of people, there's so many programs in the way which prevent that from occurring, not because it's not possible, but because they've been trying for so long to manifest something and it's not coming, that they're building, I want to say bullshit programming, like really terrible programming in the way of having it. Because when you want something so badly and you never get it, how frustrating, how much doubt do you have? How much self-blame or shame, or you think that there's some karma or something that's your being that's preventing you from having what you really want, and you're just not worthy now. So you have all this programming running. And when you buy that programming, oh, of course it must be true. I must not be good enough because it's not coming, or it's not happening, or I'm not getting that job or making that money. Then you're going to always have that belief system running. As soon as you buy it, the second you decide that's true, everything you believe to be true is. Everything.
Absolutely.
Everything good, everything bad, and everything in between. Whatever you believe to be true is. And there isn't a way around that. But the great part is, once you acknowledge that you have a bunch of things that you believe to be true that aren't, which are out of alignment with your true nature as source, then you can change that, because you're recognizing, it's like taking yourself out of your skin suit and going, wait a second, something about that doesn't feel right. Like, I feel like, I doubt stuff, but I know that that's what I want. And I know that you can have what you want. Like, asking it is given is true,
Mhm.
right? To a degree where you can put a whole bunch of other things in between that and make it not true, because I'll ask for it and not get it and then not believe it anymore.
Yeah,
Right?
'cause
So
we actualize the inability to receive it.
yeah, let's prove that it's not going to work by deciding that it's bullshit and it's not working. And I just swear, so just sorry, you have to just know it.
That's okay.
But
It's all truth, right?
those are the words that just come out. But so basically what I wanted to share with everyone was the process of actualization, so you can go do it for yourself. I mean, I didn't receive that information not to share it. I received it and I'm like, wow, I didn't even go try to practice to say, like, what do I want? I'm gonna like actualize something. I know that it's true. I saw every little bit of it. And I think still, even after I had that experience, it was only a couple days ago, and I'm still integrating that truth. I'm like, wow, it makes so much sense. So do you want me to share what it is?
Well, absolutely. Yes. Everybody here is like, yeah, what is it? Come on.
What is it? Yeah, like, bring it, give it to me. Whatever. I promise that I will map it out like with more detail, and I'll go back and listen to my own. It was a moment of channeling my own soul where I was experiencing it. And thankfully I had the insight to turn on the recording. So, I mean, turn on the recorder to record myself going through it all. But how it works is, everyone understands now, manifest, right? Having the manifest, having it come into your mind, a fully formed picture of what you want is the manifest. So we're manifesting everything we want. We must have books upon books of things that we're manifesting, because that's, it seems like we've been asking all the time. Now what we want to do is actualize, bring into our reality, actually experience those things that we're manifesting. Now, I'd like to say that it's instantaneous, And it is in a space of no time. But we live and understand our days by the rising sun and the rising moon after. So there is that element that we can't pretend doesn't exist. So what we get to do is realize that there gets to be a formula that our minds can lock onto so that we can understand the process of it. And the magic can happen in between. All the miracles of, the happenings that are instantaneous, those can still happen. But when your mind has a process to lock onto, it makes it a lot easier and believable for your own self to have it. So we can unwind and undo some belief systems by understanding that manifestation is having that blueprint, having that manifest in front of us as the visual picture. Having the actualization here, I'll give you the process now. So I'm just going to walk through it. And if you're, if you're at home and you can close your eyes and you want to go through it while I'm going through it, that's what I'll do. And otherwise, I'll deliver a link to Chris later when I put it into like list form or video form or something else. I'll just keep putting it out there until everybody understands it. And maybe somebody that's more amazing than me can actually see it differently. We'll have a million different ways to do it, but it will work. What you get to do is find yourself in a space of unconditional love. And part of the human condition is we have so many programs that are in the way of actually truly experiencing unconditional love that we've forgotten what it feels like on this planet. And so in order to actualize any manifestation, excuse me, the first bit is to understand that getting to unconditional love is what's going to create it. So the process came to me because of the situation that we're all in with all this self-doubt and lack of self-worth and you name it. Put all the lower frequency programs out there. That's what I'm talking about. Getting to unconditional love can be done through a bit of self-hypnosis, if you may, by sitting with yourself. And I do it in the bathtub because it's, water is always such a beautiful conduit. But closing your eyes and imagining yourself going through doorways that are leading down into your consciousness where you're going deeper into alpha. And if you're lucky and you can do it, into theta, where there's just some really great creation space in there, but you're still conscious. Going through these doors will allow you to take your heart rate to a normal beat, remove all the mind chatter that's happening, and gift you the ability to experience your frequency raising just by focusing on looking at a door, opening it up, and consciously walking through. Seeing another door, open it up, walk through. Keep doing that until you get to a place where a door will open. And this may be different for everyone. It just depends on how willing you are to get there. It might take you 10 doors, which is, I think, what it took me. And a slide. I opened one door and there was a slide. I slid down the slide. Like I was like, woo, this is fun. And there was a couple doors after that. But what you take yourself to is maybe I'll share the audio with you of the channeling. It's a sea. It was so many more things. It was the sea, the letter C, the sea of water, like the seabed of consciousness. So it had it was as though if I didn't understand what the messages were, it came in like multiple forms, like the sea, the water, you're on the water, but it is the water of sea, the letter consciousness. So you were in the conscious water. I was like, okay. And I was sitting on it looked like maybe a pool floaty is what it felt like, because my natural mind was going, okay, well, I can't just sit on water. So I'm on a pool floaty. The next move deeper into that consciousness was to allow that pool floaty or that thing I was floating on to be removed and allow yourself to sink into the sea of consciousness. Once you allow yourself to be in the sea of consciousness and you realize that you're breathing in the sea of consciousness, it's not actual water and you're not going to drown. And I realized I was in the tub, but you're in that sea where it's like you become one with all things. The big sea of consciousness of energy. You are that which you sink yourself into, which is all things. If you can get yourself to that space, you're so close. You're so very close. Practice getting to that space where you're all things. And in this sea of consciousness, allow your mind to see, it looks like fluid bubbles of energy. And it started for me with one. And then I saw, oh, there's multiple, and they're all touching each other, right? They're not separated, they're all touching. So they're all touching this fluid bubble, one of the other, and they're everywhere. So everywhere I consciously looked were like stacked on top of each other, all the way down, all the way up, and both to all sides, all of these fluid balls. These fluid balls are what I call in the panopticon of looking at all of these things. They are your lives, your parallel lives, if you will, your timelines in this reality that you have choice of. So while I'm looking at all of them, like, wow, they're all here. I could actually use my consciousness to dip into each one and see what's in there. And as I was doing that, I was thinking, well, if I'm in a sea of consciousness, how am I seeing things? Right? I really went into my head and thought, how am I seeing in a sea of consciousness where I'm one with all things? How does one with all things actually see with your vision, some type of inner vision? And this is, if there's any science nerds out there like me, it's the wave and the particle, right? The wave is the frequencies of all things, and the particle is one solid, what you're staring at, which is our reality. Everything physical is made of particles. Waves could be like radio waves in the air. You can't see them, but they're everywhere. The same idea. So when you're in this sea of consciousness and you see all of these bubbles of fluid, what you get to understand is while you're looking with your inner sight, your consciousness has a focal point on a particle. So you become a particle to see a particle. And that's how you see in consciousness. That at least was my understanding in there. Mm. And what you want to do from that space is when you're seeing all things is understand that you're in a space of unconditional love, because consciousness is all things. And the highest frequency of unconditional love is the only frequency that lives. It's unconditional in every way. Doesn't judge. It doesn't do anything. It's unconditional. It loves. That's the only role it has, is unconditional love. So this sea of consciousness is actually the sea of unconditional love. And that is the biggest first step. Get into the sea of unconditional love. Once there, you can now see if you're able to see these bubbles. And this takes practice. Don't get me wrong. I've got like 3 decades worth of practice of meditation, deep state meditation. So in there, it was natural for me, but practice it. Once you're in the sea and you see the fluid bubbles, what you want to find in unconditional love, there is something in your actual physical human life right now that you feel unconditional love for. So it could be, most often it's your child if you have children. If you don't have children, it's a pet. And if it's not a pet, it could be a parent. So there's always like a focal point of unconditional love in your reality right now. And that's the one thing that you get to pull in that moment and feel what it feels like. The unconditional love you feel for that being, whether it's an animal or, a human. Feel what unconditional love frequency feels like in your real reality. From that space, you're going to use that as your navigator. Now you want to use that because, of course, if you're going to actualize something from a manifestation, you want the things that you have unconditional love for to be there, right? You don't want to go off the map somewhere else where none of those things exist. You want to actualize in a space where that unconditional love lives now. And so, of course, in what your vision of what you want, that unconditional love lives there too, whatever that being or whatever that is for you. So you're going to ask your own consciousness, almost like a little beam or a GPS, to show me or sense or see, however you function best in that space, the matching unconditional love point particle that's in that sea of all those fluid balls. And all of a sudden you'll see them in your own way. They'll either light up or you'll see them in front of you, or everything else will disappear and only those ones will stay. And you're going to identify which one of those is your manifestation. So once you're kind of boiling it down, so okay, they're all the sea of all of the fluid balls. Now you're identifying your one, I'd say, anchor in this reality to unconditional love that you already know. Then you're going to ask to match that frequency inside of these bubbles. And then inside of these bubbles, you're going to consciously move yourself into them and see if it matches your manifestation or your manifest. Does it check off all of the things that you had on your manifestation list, right? Does it look the same? Does it feel the same? Does it have the same things? If it does, then you found your bubble. You found it. If it doesn't, you just pop out and move to another one. You go into another one and you see, okay, does it match in here? Because you might go in and go, oh, it has all the things except, right? It doesn't have the house on the beach. It has a house in the mountains. I really wanted the house on the beach. So, well, that's not matching the manifestation that you're after, right? So you don't want to just say yes randomly. That's not aligned. You're looking for aligned frequencies in this space. So you're just going to pop out and you're going to look for another one. And you're going to keep going into these cells, these fluid cells, in order to find exactly what you're after. Once you find that one, you pull your whole conscious beingness inside of it so that you can look around, and then you get to play inventory. What things do I have now in my actual reality that match my manifested, desire? And be like, oh, I have this already. I already have this. Oh, maybe I already live in the house on the beach, but I don't have, this relationship that I was after. I don't have this kind of extra money that I was after, whatever those things might be. And in there, you get to see what you have and what's missing or what's not quite there yet in your bubble. So everything's in the bubble. Your reality now comes into place. You're matching inventories. What you want to find out is what's missing from your life right now that's in the manifested bubble. And we're going to, one at a time, look at, okay, well, some things just require purchasing, right? Maybe it's a piano, right? Oh, I really would love to play a piano and practice and learn how to play. I don't have a piano in this reality, but in my bubble, I do. I have this gorgeous, piano where I'm learning how to play. Okay, well, the difference is when I come out and I go to write that down, I can see that the gap of actualization is actually buying a piano, having it moved to my house, and signing up for lessons. That's one thing. So one at a time, you're going to actualize your reality as it matches itself up. And you can keep going back in and just checking your inventory and keep going from there. But what you'll find was there's a tipping point to when most of the things are now in your reality. So if you're wondering, wow, that's going to take forever. Depends on how different you want your life to be. Because we're running on this thing called time, right? And you could say no time all you want, but still there is this thing that you're going to, in the back of your mind, run on. And until then, keep going in. Your manifest can change. So you get to be aware of that. And how you actualize and how it shows up could also look different. It could look better. Because how you're seeing it might not be fully with all the bells and whistles that it will actualize into your reality. So I'm not sure, Chris, if this is trackable or not.
It is. It has been with me so far, and I have a hard time keeping up. So, but no, I mean, I really love this because what you're explaining is taking yourself into that energetic place where you find the one thing that all things and all of existence has in common is love, the vibration, the frequency of love,
unconditional love,
an unconditional, well, which is source. right?
Yes,
Comes from,
absolutely.
it's like direct from source. And then I've talked about this in one of my podcasts about what, you start from source and you go from unconditional love, from pure source. And then that creates a vibration. That vibration creates a photon. That photon creates material, being minerals or whatever. Those materials coalesce and become more complex materials like planets and beings. And so that's the process. So what we're doing as that intelligent being, having come through that process, is going back to the beginning of that process intelligently and intentionally, and doing the same exact thing that unconditional pure source love does, and that is create.
Yes, 100%. You followed exactly what I was saying. I was trying to give the visual at the same time as the
Oh,
doing.
this is great.
Well, good. I'm glad. I'm just explaining it as it came to me, and it was the simplest thing. It was just so simple. Now, the practice of it is literally doing the practice of it. Go get yourself into that space. If you're not getting there, keep practicing until you get
Yeah.
there. The resilience of determination will have you get there. If you're super stuck, you have some programs running that you have just created that just won't allow you for whatever reason to go there. I mean, it's not that you can't.
Right.
It's that there's programs running and those get to be changed. And the first step into that is just to identify that that's what it is. You don't even have to identify the program. Identify that there's a program running that's not allowing you. Great. What do I do next? Right? This is why, Chris, I wanted to share so many things too, because I've decided to just put out some series of things of that simple stuff. What do I do next? This is not happening. What do I think about? How do I see these programs? How does that go? So I'm literally going to do a little library of exactly how to go through all this stuff. I mean, humanity is ready for all this stuff now.
Yeah.
And it's time for that to come forward in a very simple and dare I say logical way to understand it and consume it so that one can do it and have everything you want. That's why we're here, just to experience this reality.
Yeah. And what it does is it makes us responsible for our own self and our own life. Because
100%.
what it does is it turns it right around and say, listen, if you want your manifestation, if you want that, take that blueprint. I'm a builder at times, so I like blueprints in my brain. Take that blueprint and apply that work, in building what it is you desire. And your method is that, in going through each bubble and identifying where it is that unconditional love and that point of manifestation for what it is you're wanting to build in your life. You go
I
there.
think,
I love that you say, look at what you already have.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at what you don't have.
Yeah. Yeah. It stems from the ability for you to pull from the frequencies into this physical reality. You must have an anchor, right? For someone to say, well, I want $1 million. Okay. But if they have no concept of money and no concept of how to handle money or do anything with it, there's a lot of steps in between that would get to occur in order to create that experience. So it's not that it's impossible, but there's an intelligent, logical aspect to that actualization from the manifestation to now. And for some people, it could be instantaneous. They could already have all those pieces in place and win the lottery. Now, there's some people who don't, because there's just disconnections in what they're actually going to do with it. People that say, I want to win the lottery, have all those pieces in place and win the lottery, don't know how, they don't have a manifest for what they're going to do with the money. Then what happens is the money just drains out of their reality. Because they've drained themselves out of their reality, they've drained that money out of their reality because they didn't have a bucket for it to go in. That's their actualization, was of their declaration of winning the lottery. So they win the lottery, they get all the money, it disappears. What they'll learn from that experience is that the manifestation was win the lottery, and here's all the places that it's going to go when I receive it. Then that's where you're going to see success with people winning the lottery. That's why there's such a high percentage of those who win and lose and then like piss it all away, or it just disappears. They give it all away. They don't know what to do. Why? Because in their manifest, there was no instructions. It was just win the lottery, right?
What does that
It's
really mean, right?
right. So they, if it was, they're going to, play whatever lottery they're going to pay for and they win a lot of money. So they'll do that. But if they don't have the proper buckets in place in the manifest, where that money's going to go and how they're going to utilize it in their life, it's going to go away. And there's nothing wrong with that. Where they could look at that differently is go, wow, I actualized winning the lottery. Maybe now I'll put some buckets in place to go, now that I know what I do with it when I receive this money or when I win. I mean, listen, this isn't for everyone to go out and bet on the lottery, because if you think there aren't programs, a ton of programs that are in the way of that actualizing for real. Go into your little space of unconditional love and match that stuff up, and you'll see it for yourselves. There's more programs in the way of winning than there are of not. And yet still there are, the anomalies of people that don't have those programs in the way. And that's why they win, right? They could consistently win because they don't have those programs in the way. It seems as though, I think it was the Silva method, where they teach people, how to get what they want. And they use an example, I think it was on Mind Valley, they use the example of the woman who won like 5,000, and she keeps winning and winning and winning. Yes, she was using all Jose Silva's work, and she also didn't have any of the programming in the way to stop her from actualizing that stuff.
It's reminiscent of when I was young and I was accomplishing, really amazing things. Like that most people their whole life, one of these things they don't accomplish. I was just doing one after the other. And people are like, how do you do this? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, I don't know that I can't do it. So I do it.
Exactly. So you didn't have the program that you couldn't do it. So you just did it. That's the same thing. And I'm not saying anything poorly about the solar method or anything. I'm sharing with you the reasons why some people do it and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? Because some people do it and it does work. There's no programs in the way to stop it. We all carry our own programming. So there isn't anything that's wrong with this world. We have our own programming that gets in the way of the things that we deem or judge as being wrong. And they're really not. It's just identification of something that we get to change if we want to.
We have full control over it.
100%.
It's us, now on that note, I think the biggest question probably right now for people would be, okay, you keep talking about programming and changing the programming. Kind of explain that, because that's something that you do, right?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. The programming, I always say it's like shopping, right? We got a shopping cart, we're at the grocery store and we're shopping, and we put items into our basket. We buy them, right? Well, as humans, we are living in our realities and we are buying programming all the time. And it's not, the cost of programming is not physical money, but it could be. Because when we buy that we're not good enough, we're not capable, we don't have those opportunities, we're born on the wrong side of the street, we're born in the wrong family, nothing good ever happens to us, right? Whatever, you name it, it could be a lot of, dogma stuff too. You're literally buying programming that's going to run in your computer. So imagine your body, your skin suit's an actual computer. Your brain and your mind, both things, are programming or buying programming, and the programming is running, much like a computer programmer is going to program things in the computer. Your mind's running. That programming is by you. Your reality, what you're living and seeing, is a direct reflection, being the monitor of that computer that you are part of. So let me just digress for a second to restate that. Like a computer programmer who goes in, and back in the day when computers first came out, we all started getting personal computers at home. The monitor screen was black and green with a green square cursor that blinked. Right? And then one day a programmer came around and they programmed the computer to be color. And now we see color. Well, every morning I wake up and open my computer, I don't think, gee, I wonder if it's going to go back to black and green again. Because the programmer has already programmed color. It's color. That's what the program is, right? Unless the programmer goes back in and changes it, then it will change. But really, once it's programmed, that's it. Well, we can liken ourselves to computers just the same, only in skin suits. We're conscious computers taking in information all the time that we are deciding in our minds what's true, what's not true. So when someone says, maybe a child says, "Oh, you're so mean," and they say it to you and you think, "I'm not mean." And they say, "Yes, you're so mean." And you're thinking, well, maybe I am mean. All of a sudden, that acknowledgement of the potential of you maybe being mean buys you that program. You've now bought it. I don't want to be mean because I know, as source energy in a skin suit, that I'm really not mean. I'm unconditional love. However, that child called me mean. Maybe I am mean because what do I know, right? Maybe I'm mean. He's calling me that. It must be true. So what happens is when you buy that programming, you end up carrying and running that programming 24/7. Just like the computer programmer changes black and green to color, you now change yourself to add in mean. I'm mean. I must be mean, or I'm mean. And what will happen is in your reality, you're going to be triggered by two things with I'm a mean person program. People are going to call you that, and you're going to get so irritated because people are calling you mean, because something about what they're experiencing with your programming causes you to appear mean, and you're going to have a negative emotional response about that because you're not. How could you appear that way? But the program's running. Or you could see somebody being mean to someone else, and that will trigger you also with a lower frequency emotion, and you'll be infuriated because you see other people being mean. And how could they be mean? Because that's not the true nature of source for anyone. So you're going to be triggered experiencing this program running in your field of energy. Now imagine, okay, that's just one thing. You'll spend the rest of your life trying not to be mean. Even though you're not already, you're going to exert extra energy in your world to not be mean, because heaven forbid someone call you that when you know that you're not, right? So now you've embodied a personality, you've embodied a fear and a program that says that you're mean. So you're at a dichotomy in your own body, trying not to be the thing that you've been called, and spending all your time being on the lookout.
So what is the answer to that? So say that you heard that, you bought it, and now you're in conflict because you're bringing in that frequency now. What do you do to change it?
Well, I'm rediscovering what that looks like for people that are in that situation, or with any of the programming, because you name it, if it's a crappy program, everyone wants to get rid of it. In my world, it shows up as binary sequencing. It shows up as a literal program running in your field of energy. So binary sequencing running in zeros and ones, with a 0 and a 1, and the 1 being on and active, running, named mean. It's that simple in my world. The programs are like right there, right in my face. I can see them. So shutting them off when they start with the 1 and they're active is just me shutting them. Consciously being in that pool of unconditional love, turning it to a 0. Now it's off. And I can see it stop running. Boom, disappears. What happens in the physical reality? Instantaneously, there are 0 emotional responses to anyone being mean. You might be like, oh, that's not very nice, that's mean. But you won't have like this deep-seated emotional response to it any longer, where you must stop it and cause a scene because someone's being mean. But you also won't be called mean. You won't experience mean. You won't even have any lower frequency emotions at all about anything that has anything to do with mean. It won't even be in your head. It will, however, be a memory, because the past is a sequence of memories. Right? The difference is, if it's a program that's still active, you're going to have memories, and you're going to have emotions attached to those memories that carry forward. Right? So you never live in the past. Those are written memories. You never live in the future. Those are manifests. You only live in the present. So in order to experience something different in the present, You get to be in unconditional love and shut that program off so that it no longer lives. Now, in my skin suit, that's what I do. That's what I do with clients. So the world changed dramatically because we just go along, we see what you want, we actualize it by seeing the manifest, and then I can see all the programs in the way of that actualization. So we just go in and shut all the programs off. For someone who's going through it themselves, and let's just use this example because this is a real true example of some humans who have cut themselves off from money for a bazillion different reasons, right? Who knows how many programs are going to cut you off from money? So many. We've been bombarded with data about how bad the economy is, how it's so hard to make money, how you're not going to make enough. And then you work for someone where you don't make enough because you've bought all the programs and now it's true. How do you know? You're seeing it in real time. It's true. Well, Wendy, it's proven to me right now. This is what's happening. Yes, it is. You bought those programs and now they're running. My advice, if you're any type of a healer or someone who does energy work or things of that nature, use your own way. Everyone, this is everyone, but in particular, someone who calls themselves a healer or some type of energy worker, your own unique experience is what's going to solve the programming. It has the highest potential of turning that programming off, because I'm going to digress just for a moment. There's some really great work out in the world that's energy driven. People are teaching everybody how to do it. The only issue that I have with learning someone else's process and doing it as your own is that when you do that, you automatically buy the program of doubt. In which case, your clients will also reflect that doubt program. So it will work on some and not on others, reflecting back that doubt, where you sit in the space of like, well, now I can't for certain say that it works every time because I don't have evidence of that. You see? So what I'm suggesting, and I mean, all the work that everyone's doing to support everyone else is so good, unless you're struggling and you have too many programs and it's not doing anything. Of course, like, face your own self in that space. But what my recommendation is take the thing that you've learned from someone else and use the instincts that you already know that you have, that you've already had the instinct to do, and add your special sauce to it so that you can take the data and understand it, receive all that data, how to serve from an energetic space. And your secret sauce is already there because you're alive and you're breathing and you're living, and your intention is to serve and support and work with others in the highest intention. Get to the unconditional love space, add your secret sauce with what you know, and watch that change the way that people experience your work. When you see that every single person gets the type of healing or experience or change that they're after because of your uniqueness, because of your special sauce, you will then have the ability to see your own programming and turn it off for yourself. That's my understanding of how that will work. I haven't went into the space where I've taught someone how to do that yet. That's coming next. Those programs are coming next for me to teach people how to address that. But it's for the current, like if you're looking at, oh, I want to be a healer, you have an awakening, you want to help people, you want to support people, do your own thing.
Yeah.
Because your thing that comes through you is going to be the most powerful, potent thing on this planet. You are the gold. You are the change, right? It's be the change you want to see in the world. You get to be your unique you. And that is the $1 million opportunity, right? That is the thing that has the category of one. You're a category of one in a beautiful space with no competition. Because we're all in this in one space together as a oneness paradigm, seeing ourselves in other skin suits as energy or as source energy embodied. There is no competition when your unique magic is yours alone. When your beautifulness and your generosity and your kindness and your love and your intention to serve in the way that you serve, only you can do that, no one else.
Right.
Which is why I've been doing this work for a decade and never taught anyone how to do it or certified people because I always knew that it wouldn't work the way that it works for me because of that reason, because someone will automatically buy doubt as a program when they're learning this technique.
Now, that's interesting. And I really love that you said that about bringing in information, but then making it your own. And there may be a little bit of a confusion on how to do that with some people. But basically, I mean, this how I see it is that, well, what I've done in my life is there's things I knew to be true and truth, and those I've never questioned. And then there are things that come in information-wise from other people or other sources. And then I'm like, is this true? And is this full truth acceptable, or are parts of it that resonate with me? And then so I've moved on through experience after experience, taking the parts that worked, that resonate well with me, techniques, knowing, understanding, belief systems, and then came together to be the genuine individual that I am. I'm saying genuine, but I am genuine. That's that, I don't want to be anything besides what I am. And what I am is really a conglomeration of research and a conglomeration of sometimes sources that are other people, and then sometimes things that I just knew to be true, and so I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to say is for people that are kind of wondering, how do you take, say, whatever method that you use in changing a program and then combine it with what's already working for them or what they already resonate with? Well, how would you suggest doing that?
It's going to be moments of like, it'll just happen. It'll be in a moment where your intention is to be an allowance of yourself to come through, your genuine soul source energy to come through in the moment that you have full intention to support someone else while using what you've learned. So taking the data that you've learned and then being in the moment and knowing, oh, you know what? I know that the protocol says to do it this way, but I feel like I should add this to it or do it this way. Do that. Because your intention is never to hurt anyone, and you're not going to hurt anyone. And anyone who teaches you a modality says that's going to hurt someone, I would double check that. Because if it's in an energy realm, your intention is what matters. So if you're intending from a pure unconditional love space to support someone, excuse me, and heal with them because they're doing the healing, not you, you're facilitating the belief in a healing potential that the person that comes to you must have in order for them to actually heal. We're not healing anyone. I'm not doing anything. When a client comes to me and they want to change something, they are choosing it. They're identifying it with me. They are giving me permission to be in there with them, and they are doing the work.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
It may not experience as that because of the languaging as we walk through it. The moment happens when they believe that's what they want and they know it, and they know I know it and I believe it. It's when two or more are gathered. The experience becomes miraculous in that it's going to occur because the person who desires it and believes they can have it, and the one thing they believe is going to catalyst it, is the moment that they're having with you, the facilitator. That's the transformational moment.
Right. It was we, like you say, we've never healed, and nobody ever heals another person. Only gateways to open doors to allow either enough energy for the body to heal itself, or open the door and allow enough space for that person's higher self to step in and do the healing if that's appropriate. Which is why I always say, if I'm working with somebody, especially with like an Nadim session, or especially energy balancing or whatever, or a healing, session, I always say, if you feel like you want to fall asleep, even for a moment, that's okay. Go with that feeling, because that puts you in a state of mind and of thinking that your higher self can quickly enter in. And they're outside of time. So you could be asleep for a half a second. That's plenty of time for them to do whatever they need to do. So healing is ourselves, healing ourselves and our body, healing our own body, physical body, energy body, spiritual body. There's several layers of healing, that we always must do. And your process is really wonderful, because what you're saying is, when you find a program that says you can't do this, you can't heal yourself, or you can't actualize this, you're switching that off, and then
Yeah.
allowing the trueness of who you really are to step forward. And when you say where two or more gather together, there's another meaning to that, and that is when you and your higher self become one in that moment. All
Well,
things are possible.
I've been doing this for so long, and what actually occurs, Chris, is that the higher self is who you are right now.
Yeah.
There's no separation from you and higher self. That is a program in itself. Because if you believe that you have to do something to access the part of you that knows everything, you could remain separated from yourself for your lifetime.
Yeah.
That is a program. So you are all of your infinite intelligence right now. And that is what creates everything you require. So yes, when two or more are gathered, inclusive,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, because how that works is that because we're here in this physical time constrained world program, really,
Mhm.
but we're also outside of that simultaneously, which is what, when we have to learn duality, and so even though when I say about, working with your higher self, it really is you
Yeah.
in the same moment, in the same time, and it's also you in the future who have come
Yeah.
backwards to
You,
help and make adjustments.
timelines on all
Yeah.
timelines.
So it's like
Absolutely.
it's both things at the same time, which makes it kind of confusing.
Well, it's funny. When I think, as you're speaking, the visual that I'm getting is that in order to allow those things to occur, to have the belief that there's a higher self, that it's separate from you, if you have the belief that that's true, then it makes it easier for everything to come together, because the belief must be there, the faith
Mhm.
must be there. Now we are all that, and there is no limitation to having access to
Mhm.
all that is. But the levels of belief systems and programming that remains in between is what creates the appearance or the experience or even the thought processes around a higher self,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So, and it's for a lot of people, it's tough to conceive that I am my higher self. And for a lot of people, it's not anymore. Like they're coming into it now going, yeah, I'm my higher self. Absolutely, you are. And we have programs that are running that are trapped in the skin suit that have been embodied. Fear will embody. Fear embodies into the skin suit with you.
Mhm.
So that program that encompasses the fear frequency gets embodied into your skin suit, which is why when you do energy work, there's always a detox after. When you clear something, it has the thing that you're getting rid of has a matching frequency of toxin in your body. And so when you get rid of a program, your body's cells go and spit out that toxin that matches that frequency. So you imagine that's how a lot of healing occurs as well. As you're releasing all kinds of programming, your body's releasing that toxin that would create the illness.
Mm.
So there's a lot to that. Now, someone who instantaneously turns off too many programs is going to be so sick. So I've done it to myself twice. And it was instantaneous, and I swore I'd never do it again, but of course it happened once. But you get too excited and you go, oh, I got a pocket of programming. Shut it all off, right? And the next thing you know, I'm in bed for like days. But you can only excuse me, handle so much toxins being released out of your body at one time, dependent on where it's concentrated. Because if you have a lot of heart-centered programming, excuse me, that's made you close your heart off because you're afraid to love or be loved, or anything that has anything to do with a heart-centered space, the last thing you want to do is be clearing all of that stuff out of one time, impacting the physical vessel of of the heart area that literally carries those, that portal of unconditional high frequency love. right? You don't want to make yourself that sick. So I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent with that, but it was all from the higher self thing of we are our higher selves
We are.
at times. But the belief systems that support that are the belief that you have a higher self. I mean, it's all good either way.
Yeah, and that you can go easily into that rabbit hole of that we are all one, and everything goes from there, so that's a whole nother video, obviously.
This one might have to be broken up to 10 anyway, because we've talked about so many topics on it, but
Yeah,
so
but I think at this point we've probably given so much information, it's going to take a lot for anybody to process, which is a good thing. But I think I'd like to kind of, before we close, is just let people know that you also provide a service, to help change programming, right?
I do. Right now, what I have available is one-on-one services in order for that to occur, where we work together minimum 3 months to get all the basic. There's programming that every single human has. So I make sure to clear out all of those 3 pillars right out of the gate. And then we go into looking at what is your vision? What do you want? So now what I've incorporated into that is the actualization process, so that someone can learn how to actualize, manifest and actualize something while we're shutting all these programs off to have it. So I can imagine up until now, the results have been astronomical. Like, you want to change your life, the willingness gets to be there because everything does change. But now I'm going to purposefully add in teaching the actualization part, so that it's more controlled, if you will, in someone's own sphere. So that's available right now. There's I'll give you all the links and everything that I have so you can have it below. But on my website, which is wendypaquette.com, you can get an assessment done. And there is a fee to it because it goes on my calendar. So we book some time on there and I can do an assessment. It's called a quantum timeline assessment. So we'll see where you are now and where you want to be. And then we'll talk about all those things. But what I'd like to offer, Chris, and this is very it's new for me to even go into this space, but I am going to create, I should say, not going to, I've already started creating all of the processes in order to do all this work, so that you can go in and maybe you already know, maybe you have no programs in the way to understanding this and you can do it. Go in and learn this stuff. So it's more, I would say, affordable if you wanted to go in and do my work without being, having to choose the one-on-one stuff. And then there'll be some meditations where I'll walk you through. And I'm going to put I've contemplated, yes or no, putting the actual channeled audios out there. I may send them to you and you can support me with deciding, but they're so powerful, and listening to them is when I'm in that frequency. So I can imagine that someone would experience that frequency as well. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it initially feels like a good idea, to have something like that available. Yeah.
Just to like, just to be in that space, if you can allow yourself to go there and listen to it, maybe walk through it with me. It's the first time that I went through it, and I've only shared it a few extra times, but it's only going to get better and better and better the more I put it out into the world, the more everyone listens to it and attempts to do it themselves. That will work too. So I'll give you all the links. The reason I do 3 months as the minimum, Chris, is because I've seen what happens when I only clear a few programs. It changes people's lives and they're still kind of like wonky and lost because the main things still have programs in the way. And so they still can't get themselves there. Yeah. Right? Because they've chosen a pathway that has all these great things on it. And if we only do a few programs outside of the 3 pillars, those other programs are still in the way. And I am a results-based coach, mentor, whatever. I want to see someone win. I want to see them get everything they want. So in order for that to happen, their wins are my wins. And so I don't stop until it actually gets there. So 3 months is the bare minimum that someone gets to work with me, which is why if you want to dip your toes in and kind of learn the process yourself, you might discover something new in there. You might hear something that awakens something in you, and then just go through the series of things. I'm divinely guided to put the work out there. So it's nothing that's going to be hard or
Mhm.
impossible, but it'll just awaken those cells of understanding within you to dive deeper. And in the future, there'll be more opportunities to work with groups of people. I would love to work with any healers who want to come forward and do some work together to discover their unique aspect. I would love to do that in a group, right? So if we had a group of like 20 people who are healers already in the world doing their thing, that wanted to know they're doing other people's work, that
Yeah.
wanted to actualize from the space of learning how to shut programs off so that they could create that aspect too and find their unique special sauce and their genius. I would love to do that as a group because that would be extremely powerful. So
Mhm.
we'll put maybe a waiting list or something on there so people can jump in, and when enough people do, I will pull the trigger and we'll do that because
Yeah.
more people get to have access to this knowledge.
So the best way to contact you would be through the website, or you have an email. What's the best
Yeah.
way?
If they want to book a timeline assessment on my website, there's it says on there quantum timeline assessment. So just book through, and there'll be questions that you get to answer, and then you'll book on my calendar, and then we'll just get to it. That will also take you to the space where if you want to work with me one-on-one, like this is something that I want. I know I've got the money to do this. We're going in, book from that space too, and then I just would basically take that from the main fee. As far as reaching me, I would look on social media, probably Instagram or something, and
Okay.
reach out. I mean, I don't go on there much at hardly at all. So you're not going to really get me one-on-one for questions. That's a tougher space, but to reach me and work with me to get there,
Yeah.
book the assessment call. And what I'll do actually for everyone that's watching it from your channel, um, the assessment call is $495. So I'll give everyone a $200 off for an assessment.
Amazing. Amazing thing. And I've worked with you and I know it works,
Yeah.
with you several times. And yeah, it really does work. There's a vibration to this, and the vibration is our own thought patterns, and our thought patterns change. And when we can change those, you know, that opens up the world to us. And so you're doing an amazing service all by itself, and thank
Yeah.
you for that.
Thank you. Oh, it's what I came here to do. It's really that innate thing that I would like everyone to find in themselves too. I think it's just such a beautiful thing that you can be so sure of yourself, so certain of what you know, and that comes from within. No one can tell it to you.
Right.
You have to like have that experience with yourself and know it and see the results in the world, and then just run like the wind with it and have so much fun and generate and actualize, like manifest and actualize everything you want. It all begins there. The only thing stopping us is programs. From my understanding, from my perspective, programs are the only thing in the way. So if we can discover how to remove those, can imagine what the rest of the world would look like if we had a whole bunch of people out there with their own unique geniuses, creative aspects in their healing work and whatever they're doing to change the programmings with as many people that want it. I think the world will become what we know it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. What we desire it to be, for sure. So listen, I really appreciate you coming on the channel, and thank you for being like so amazing at what you do. I know that you are,
Thank you.
and I appreciate everybody that joined us today. And um, I guess that's it for me. You have any final words?
Yeah, I want to share appreciation for everyone that watched this all the way through. I know it's really long and there's a lot of information in here, but Chris and I will do our best to, if you're dropping comments below, if you're asking questions below, to field, information to you and share with you everything that's going on so that you can have your own experience too. It's we all go through what we go through in order to like reach our hand out and support someone else in some way, just as we get the same internal nudges and external nudges. How Chris and I became friends just the same way.
Yeah.
The world works on the vibration of the ask. The
Mm.
ask and it is given. Sometimes we don't see the given, and sometimes it's the most beautiful thing, like a friendship. So make sure that if you have further questions, comment below this video, and Chris and I will do our best to get to you anything that you're asking or requiring. And if it's something that that I can share with you or spark an interest, or if I have a video that can support you with something, I will absolutely do my best to serve you in that way. And then we'll just keep going and sharing all the great things, because I think Chris and I are going to do some more videos, and I got so many other cool things that have happened that we get to share. And Chris has lots of stuff with the Deems device as well. So just keep hanging out and tell your friends, share this with your friends, because no greater aspect than to love on one another. So
Yeah.
Chris's channel is great. We get to keep sharing him.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy. Yeah, and we will definitely do more videos together on the channel, and kind of we'll dive in a bit deeper, with your processes, and as things kind of you develop your process, your newer processes, and we'll, share those as well. So
Thank you so much. I look forward to supporting everyone. I mean, you brave ones, jump in. Let's go. I'm ready to have some fun. So that's
well,
great.
great. Much love to all of you. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.